Welcome to Behind the Badge, where we dive deep into the careers and life of correctional officers and the men and women who walk the toughest beat in the state of California and beyond. And we also get involved with uh, law enforcement on the street,
hmm
detectives, regular old beat on the street, maybe the San Francisco guy. But right now, I want to shine a light on my really good friend who I worked with the San Quentin, and we had a great times together, and we had some horrific times together. And I'm sure Shay Fry is his name. And anyway, how you doing today?
Oh man, I'm doing great. It's so good to see you, Zippy. I'm really proud of you, and I'm happy. I'm happy that you're living
Oh,
the life that you wanted to live, man. That's
oh
fantastic.
yeah. Thank you
Yeah.
so much.
hmm
So, can you give us the viewers a little bit of give us a little story about yourself from the time you were, where you grew up, what brought you into law enforcement, and beyond. Let's see what you got. What you got?
Yeah. Born in Fort Worth, Texas, beautiful Fort Worth, Texas. My parents got divorced early, so my mom fled to California for free love and hippie lifestyle, and so I was basically been raised in California my entire life with stints over in Texas, and I lived predominantly in the East Contra Costa County early on,
Mm,
Antioch area. Then lived in Reno for 7 years, and that was actually a blast. That was before Reno was much of anything. It was just a transient
right.
casino town that never could compete with Las Vegas. So the locals, we always did everything outside of, the downtown area. So
Yeah.
riding bikes, shooting guns, um, skiing, snowboarding, going to Lake Tahoe all the time because you're right there. So I
Wow.
really, really learned to love the outdoors out there, and that was really great. And then moved back to the Bay Area, Concord, which is where I finished high school, and then I lived all over the Bay Area, Walnut Creek, Pleasant Hill areas, things like that. And over the course of time, I was doing various jobs and trying to find my way. My childhood, in all honesty, was really hard. It was a really hard experience. It wasn't anything I'd want anyone else to go through. So I was kind of lost for a while and wanted to figure out what I wanted to do. And I
Mhm.
want to say it was probably about mid 20s. I was taking some courses at local community college, and I took an administration of justice course, and that was it. I was hooked. I was like, finally, I
Yeah.
found a topic that I like.
Right.
So I just started to kind of dive headfirst into that, just little by little, trying to piece together my education and figure out the routes I would take. And then over time, I met people in the industry, and they kind of helped guide me. And but I also had a career at UPS for a while,
Yeah, I
almost
remember you telling me
yeah,
that.
almost 8 years. So that was back in the early 2000s when I left, and so I didn't know if that was what I wanted to pull the plug on, to move to another industry altogether and build another career. So that held me back in terms of time. Worked for FedEx for a while. If anyone's interested, FedEx is a much better company to work for. Let's be very clear, very clear. Um, but just a delivery truck guy, but I enjoyed it being outdoors. It was obvious the conventional 9 to 5 office job was never going to be for me.
Right.
That just
Yeah.
wasn't going to happen. And I had to find something that would fulfill that need. And after talking to friends, it was like, well, law enforcement, correction, something in there. And I always had a curious bug, and like I was the kid that would walk the streets alone late at night because I just hated going home. And
Wow.
I would go down alleys, I just always had this weird bug to go down places. And it's like, this could either turn out really bad or really good. Let's find
Wow.
out which way it goes. And
That's something I
luckily
didn't
I
know
lived.
about you.
Yeah, I lived, luckily survived. But yeah, I mean, I was mugged at 12 and in a
Wow.
back alley in Reno. And I remember two kids walk up to me and they're like, give me your money. And like one of them pulled out a knife and I just looked at him and I was like, no. And I just walked into a casino. It's like, I don't know, man. I just never took shit from people well.
I know. I know. I know, Mr. Fry.
Yes. So then, I decided that I was gonna get into law enforcement. Went through. Oops, you there? I'm sorry, did I lose you, buddy?
No, I'm here.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah.
So then I put myself through a law enforcement academy. That was my goal. I was going to work for a very small department that one of my best friends was working at. It was going to be mostly like barking dog calls, stuff like that. But I didn't care, man. I didn't care. I just wanted to do the job, and I really wanted to just do something in that realm. And I went through the hiring process with them, and man, that was the ugliest thing I've ever experienced in my life. It was just, wow, I'm here, I'm honest, I'm truthful. Like, just what do you need? There's nothing disqualifying, and I look back on it and feel like it wasn't a fair shake at all. And from the chief at the time and the hiring sergeant at the time, and I was really disappointed with that. I was just that really put a bad taste in my mouth altogether for law
Why is
enforcement
that?
going. They sent me to see this psychologist. We all have to do the psych,
Right. Of
right? And
course. Of
I
course.
won't mention his name, right? But
You don't have
he
to.
was he was infamous for just being a real asshole and really egotistical, and he loved denying people. Like two people I know from that same department had been denied as well. And
Oh, wow.
the chief that they had previous to the one I was dealing with, old Oakland PD guy, right? I mean, he's about real as it gets, and he's just like, as a matter of fact, one of those people, I won't mention their name because I don't want to disclose, they failed the site because it wasn't fair to him. But that
Wow.
chief set him to get reevaluated by another psychologist. Boom, passed, no problem. Went on to have a great career there and then went on to work at another large local agency in the Bay Area and became their first amputee that is
Yeah.
still
Wow.
currently working. He's a great guy, great cop, but it's a
Amazing.
perfect example of this particular psychologist, right? You're gonna this guy's
Right.
had a phenomenal career, and then he failed another guy, and it was like same thing. As a matter of fact, I think that guy that the second guy ended up going to that same agency that the other guy was at, and I ran into him out there while working as a parole agent. But anyway, it was just like the chief was literally the week before the psych eval.
Right.
The chief is patting me on the back on the golf course, telling everyone, "Hey, this is my new guy. I'm picking him up." Blah blah blah. And literally, I take the psych, and he literally wouldn't shake my hand, and he looks at me, and goes, "I guess law enforcement isn't for you." And I was like, "Wait, what?" And the problem was, this is where I made my mistake. So for anyone that's going through that process, let me be very clear.
Right.
Feel free to stand up for yourself and say, "Hey, I can't do something on that day because of XYZ." So in my case, I was horribly sick. I mean, I don't think it was a flu, but it was just wiped me out to that point. No cognitive processing, just wiped out.
Mhm.
And I had to go to Napa for this psyche valve, and I couldn't have a conversation with the guy. I mean, he'd ask me questions. I was like, I'd get two words out because I just could not logically put pieces together. I just, you get that cloudy funk. And anyway, long story short, he put me down as immature, too immature. Just like, that's what you derive from that?
You?
Whatever. Yeah,
What?
me
You?
of all people. And but long story short, yeah, that was it. And it was just this total axe. And it's like nobody wanted these two people that, the hiring sergeant and this chief are like, "You're done, you'll never work in this industry." I'm like, I don't understand. It's like I'll pay for it myself. Put me back in a psych, I'll be fine. I'll pay
Mhm.
for it. No, no,
Right.
you're done. You're done. So after that, I was just like that. This just wasn't a fair process, in my opinion. It was, and you know me, I'm a pretty honorable person. Like
Well,
if I make a mistake or something, I'll be the
mhm.
first one to raise my hand and say
Yeah.
I did it. Um,
Well, hey, Fry.
yeah.
So just let me interrupt you for a second. Don't feel bad because I failed my first psych also. So don't feel bad.
After getting to know you, Tip,
If
it
we
was well
can't,
deserved.
if we can't, if you can't do this job, you can't do this job if you're
And be
normal.
normal. No, you can't, can you? You can't. And if you
No,
come in normal, you're not leaving that way. You're not
no,
leaving that way.
never.
So anyway, long story short, I left it alone, and I was just you get 3 years on your certificate to apply, so you don't have to go through an academy again.
Right.
And 2 years had gone by, and I was like, you know what? I put all this work in. I'm just going to throw applications out and see what happens. And I threw them out. I included CDC, and I said, I don't care who it is. If somebody picks me up, I'm giving them my loyalty, you know.
Oh,
And
right.
CDC was actually pretty quick. Um, so I said, all right, this is where we're going, and I'll figure it out as we go through the process. And then so got hired 2007 and started working at San Quentin in November of 2007. And
Wow.
day
I
one,
thought it was before that.
no, 2007. Yeah.
Yeah.
And day one, my first day in the joint, I remember this vividly. I remember walking up, and you know how San Quentin is, man. It's ominous, and its reputation
Yeah.
is like it's hell on earth. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
I remember I said, this is, sounds so stupid, but I said this prayer to myself, and I lived it. You know, I lived this prayer. It was this simple, and I said, I shall fear. What is it? I shall fear no evil as I walk through the valley of the shadow of death. I shall fear no evil because I'm the baddest motherfucker in the valley. And
Right.
that's exactly what I said to myself. And I took one deep breath and I said, "Fuck it. Whatever comes, comes, and we're gonna do it." You know what I mean? Whatever needs to be done.
Yeah.
And I never, ever, ever looked at that, had that fear again, if that made sense. Like I just somehow just swallowed it and said, this is the environment I'm in. I got to adapt.
You accepted it.
Yeah, I got to adapt. It's that simple. And if I go in here with my tail tucked between my legs, well, then it's game over already. Then there's only two things in prison, right? There's only two
Yeah.
things in prison. There's predator and there's prey, and you choose which one you are every day. And every day I walked through those gates, I said, "Today I'm the predator," and that
Yeah.
was it. And that's how I treated it. And I don't
Amazing.
think that failed me. You know, don't think that failed me.
Right.
And I remember my very first day was in AdSeg, and you were my partner.
Yeah. That's
And I
amazing.
remember
I
this was the
remember that
funniest. I
too.
still tell this story to people. It's like,
Good. I
um,
can't wait to hear it.
I
Go
remember
ahead, buddy.
I'm new, right? So I got to remember shit and whatever, and I took notes. I would always have my little notebook, and I
Yeah.
do my notes. And I remember that creeped you out. You could run away. You're like, what are you writing? What are you writing?
Yeah.
It's like I was like, I'm taking notes on what we need to accomplish, what needs to be done. And you're like, oh, okay, as long as you're not snitching.
Yeah, I knew
That was
you couldn't
hilarious.
help yourself telling that story, huh?
That was the funniest story. That was just great. And I ended up having uh to be honest, I ended up having the greatest day on my first
Yeah,
day working
I
with you.
really loved I really loved the way you messed with me the rest of the day. That was fun because it gave me insight to who you really were.
Just
Fun
I
guy
literally
to work with.
I had the best day. You were the best partner, man, and it was just awesome working with you. And you took me in, you know, and you know how it is in prison in general. It's you're the new person. You're gonna get run over. People want to do all sorts of things, and everyone's gonna mess with you and the whole bit. And you
Yeah.
had fun with me, but you were respectful at the same time, and you looked out for me, and I greatly
Well,
appreciate
that's the way I handled everybody that I had to train because I was there before too. You know, had my first day on the job, and there was some real dinosaurs there at the time when I first got at San Quentin,
that. Yeah,
and they would not give you the time of day. So you fumbled with everything, and you're finding,
yeah,
uh, yeah. If somebody stopped and gave you the time of day, it was like gold because you needed to know these things, right? You needed to know what you needed to do for the day. And
yeah.
they just throw keys at you and say, go down that tier and feed those guys. I'm like, okay.
Is there a
And
trick to this?
the very first person that actually helped me out at San Quentin State Prison, he's not with us today, but Polanco, Sergeant
Oh
Polanco.
yeah.
And I got some stories we could tell about that, but I'm here to hear some of your stories,
They
know.
miss the sad day when Polanco passed, man.
It
That was
was
genuinely a good human being, in all honesty. Just genuinely a good human being. And he may every day you show up and that guy sees you, he lights up like a Christmas tree. He's just so happy to see you, you know.
right, right.
You
Yeah.
know. Yeah.
he was a genuine human being, that cared and was there for you 100%. You never knew if you had something go down and you were worried about a partner, you weren't worried about Blanco because man, he was going to be there, just like
Yeah.
you. I
Hmm.
never worried about if I had you on my crew as when I was a sergeant, I didn't
Hmm.
have to worry about the rest of the day because I knew that you would take handle business if you had to, you
Yeah.
know. So, anyways, so
So yeah. First day in AdSeg, and then
yeah,
the new guy, you're bouncing all over. One day you're in a hospital, and I remember, you remember saying, they always say there's San Quentin and there's every other prison in the state.
right,
It's just this whole different
yeah.
animal. And I remember as a new guy, they'd call me into the office like, hey, you got to go relieve someone at, XYZ hospital. And I was like, cool. Where do I go? You'll figure it out. Like, I don't know where I'm
Go to
parked.
the watch office.
What car am I taking? Do I get do I have to pay bridge toll? Like what is happening here? And I mean, I would just that shit pissed me off so much. And what's so funny is I kept bitching about it, and whether it had anything to do with me or not, I don't know. But I think that I know at some point they started putting books together where you had your fast track, you had like phone numbers, you'd get a phone to go with you, you know what I mean? Like all of the emergency stuff that you'd need and all of the basic stuff. Where do you go? Where do you park? Where, how do you enter the premises that you're going to, and what floor, and who do you talk to? Like all of that was finally kind of coordinated into a book. But when I first started, it was literally just you're going to XYZ hospital. It's like, okay. I don't, you're lucky if you get a relief. You know what I mean? You might be out there 12 hours. You're like, oh, we didn't hire anyone for you. Just like, it was crazy. So, you're floating around doing all these different places. So I'm meeting lots of different people and having different experiences and figuring out what I like and dislike about working in the prison system, and more importantly, working at San Quentin. And I really just honed in, as you know, on just working in the units, being on the ground around inmates and gangs. Like that was just my thing. And
Yeah,
I
I remember
loved,
that.
yeah, wherever shit was popping off, that's where I wanted to be. Wherever it was popping off, just send me, I'll go, and I
I hear
loved it.
you.
Yeah, I loved it. I did not want to be somewhere where I'm just sitting on my ass all day. It was like, I went to work with, the idea that I came to work. Like, I want to leave tired because I was busting my ass doing shit. Um, and then also just understanding that as peace officers, we could attend pretty much any training that any other peace officer could, and just not seeing that kind of light in people's eyes. And I was like, I want to maximize my potential here. I got opportunities to just actually see and do a lot if I want to. And so I would attend training every chance I got on my own dime, on my own time. I'd go to training for any various subject I could. And then I really started to focus in on gangs. And I was an idiot, trying to figure it out. Sometimes I'd think I'd know more than I do. And that just comes from experience and time, and being humbled by people who know better, and being humbled by people such as yourself who'd been around a long time. And it's like, hey, we're two bulls going to walk down, we're going to walk down instead of run down, right. Gotcha. Lesson learned. And I really just grew a lot through all of that process, and just, the goal was just I wanted to bust my ass. And I think that came from just having a work ethic young, but also working for like UPS. You're 100 miles an hour, 24/7. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You take time to eat for 15 minutes and then you're back on it. And then you go home, you sleep, you get up and you do it again. And that's all I've really known is just that type of just you work your ass off.
I
Um,
remember one
mhm,
time when we were together and I needed some help on the computer and I was doing interviews,
mhm,
you know, because MA or whatever, I can't remember what gang I was interviewing, but there was like five members I had to
mhm,
interview. And I came to you because I'm not great at the computer.
mhm.
So and you said, uh, don't even think about it, Zippy. Just go ahead, type it, type it, type it. Just keep typing with your thoughts and whatever, and go down, and then later go back and readjust it. Remember that?
Yeah,
You
yeah.
remember teaching me all that?
Mhm,
Yeah. That was a big help in my career because all through the rest of my career, that's what I thought about whenever I had to write reports. Uh, I just go through, bam, just write my reports and then go back and hit all the fix this, fix that, you know. But I get through it first, then I go back and look at it again. So that really helped me out, just to let you know.
I'm glad that I could be of some service to you, you know.
Well, you were
Uh,
of great service during your career, during our times together.
I loved it, man. I loved it. And yeah. So anyway, and then learned that. And then I always wanted to be in ISU. You know, that was something I wanted to do. And unfortunately for me, I had to apply a lot of times because I wasn't exactly loved by administration, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
Wasn't loved by administration. I had to, from what I was told, that I had so many use of force incidents that when it come in, that literally, I think the warden said to, I forget who it was that told me, but I think it was, gosh, I won't say names, but it was the IA lieutenant. And he's
Right.
like, he's sitting in a meeting, and the warden pulls out a use of force report, and he's like, "This guy again."
Yeah.
I honestly, I calculated it out. I was somewhere in the 80 to 100 range for just my like 8.5, 9 years
Okay.
there of
Right.
use of force incidents. And
So,
ironically, a lot of those were one-on-ones, like me alone, you know?
right. I
Yeah.
know. So, being on those lines, I'm sure everybody wants to kind of hear about an incident that may have happened that where maybe you had no fear and you had to go into an incident and handle some business. And can you tell us any type of incident you could think of that where you were in trouble and you had to deal with it?
Yeah, my first week. My very first week, right? Fish
Right.
cops, right? Staff is going to treat you the same. Well, inmates are going to test you, right? And
Mhm.
Um, I guess they just didn't know I had a little more life experience coming in than most people, you know? And so a guy decided to test it real early. I was on the fifth tier West Block. And you know how our uniforms are pressed and sharp and everything looks good. And you just, you know, well, everyone's like, ha, brand new guy, right? And
Right.
we're locking up the tier after chow. And yeah, there's no overhead railings in rest block, right? So you just it's waist high rail. It's like an apartment
Right.
complex width of a walkway. You fall off that, you're done. It's game over, right? So I always treat it like if I get into an incident with anybody here, I don't care how seemingly plain and simple it is, I'm treating it like it's life or death. And I will kill them. I will kill them in a heartbeat without thinking about it, and I will justify it if I have to.
Yeah.
That's nothing more than a finger push in the right direction, and it's lights out. It's game over. Well, anyway, this younger white guy, he decides he's going to be a punk, right? And we both know that the bitches are the ones that make themselves most obvious. You know what I
Right.
mean? So,
Yeah.
but this guy, yeah, he decides he doesn't want to lock it up. He's the only one, and it's just me on the tier, and I'm standing there and I'm looking at him, and he's literally telling me, "No, I'm not going to lock it up. I'll do what I want." I'm like, "Okay, all right," and I'm being really calm. I'm like, "Man, I need you to just lock it up. I'm not interested in fighting right now. Just go ahead in your cell." And I start walking towards him. So he turns towards me and he just flat out just chest bumps me, like hard chest bump. I just stepped back and I just looked him in the face and I was like, man, that was a bad decision, you know? And I pulled my MK9 out. I just looked at him with bad, man, that's a bad decision. He's standing adjacent to his cell now. His door's open and he's out on the tier right in front of it. And I immediately just pulled my MK9. You know, it's so fast, it's like a pistol. And I
Right.
just let her rip. And I remember
Mhm.
vividly how his eyeballs just lit up
Yeah.
and he just dove straight into his cell. And all you heard was, no. I was just
Hey, tell the
right
audience what an
across with him.
MK9 is. There you go. Tell the
Uh,
audience.
so
Some of them don't know.
yeah, so you have the MK series of pepper sprays,
Yeah.
oleocapsicum sprays.
Mhm.
irritant. And so most people carry the smaller one, which is like an MK3, right? That's that personal
Okay, three.
protection version. You have some
Yeah.
that are a little bit bigger. And then, of
Mhm.
course, law enforcement grade is a higher percentage of OC, right? Oleocapsicum, the stuff that, yeah, the peppers themselves, yeah. So the MK9 is just kind of the big boy personal protection one. It'd be the equivalent of what you think of when you see a bear spray can. You know,
Mhm.
can you hear me
Right.
okay? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. It's the size of what a bear spray can would be. And
Mhm.
yeah, and back in those days, what was the rule? If it's deployed, you get it all.
Yeah.
None of the 1 second stuff, that all came later, but it was like if you're gonna
Yeah.
if I'm gonna deploy this, you're getting it all. And
Yeah.
so I remember I'm spraying at him and hitting him completely as he's diving into the cell. And I just casually walk up to the cell. I was probably a good 3 feet, 4 feet away at the time, 4 feet about at the time. And I walk up to the cell and he's just laying on the ground and I'm just pointing my MK9. I still have a little bit left. And I was so calm. And I was just like, he's crying. He's literally like, why? Why did you do this to me? And it's like, it should be self-evident, brother. Like, you made your choice. These are the consequences. And, he's laying there. I was like, just cross your ankles, put your hands behind your back, don't move. I got on my radio, nice calm call, and all of a sudden, like 80 cops show up. Everyone's like flipping out, and I'm just standing there. And I'm just like, I just asked for a couple people. I got this. This is good, and it just turned
That's
into this
right.
whole fiasco where somehow I screwed
Yeah.
up. I didn't hit my alarm fast enough. Just something, and it was Captain Wrongway. I won't
Yeah.
say his name, but you know who I'm talking about. He was Lieutenant Wrongway at the time. Tall dude.
Yeah. I know.
Okay, Captain Wrongway at the
We
time.
won't say
Lieutenant
his
Wrongway.
name.
Oh, I'm not saying his name. Pulls me in the office and he's like, he committed battery on you, and I was like, I'm aware. He's like, you have to hit your alarm immediately when that happens. I was like, where does it
You
say
know,
that? I'm just going through this. I'm like, where does it say that? It doesn't. I had it under
there's
control.
sometimes in an incident, things happen so fast, you're not gonna, and he knows that. He's just he's just trying to cover his bases, because when
Oh,
you
he
do your
told me I'm
report,
fired.
right?
He told me I'm
Jeez.
fired. He's all, you're done. You're
Was he the
done.
West Block lieutenant?
He was that day.
I know who you're talking about.
Oh, yes, you do.
Yeah, him and I.
Hmm.
Well, I'm not even going to go there. That was
Yeah.
him and I didn't like each other at all. So yeah.
Yeah. So that was our hero, Captain Wrongway. For the listeners, Wrongway would refer to someone in that work in that prison in our prison system, the California prison system, is an incident or event is happening over here. Everyone's running toward it, and then you've got those one or two people that are always going the other way, aka the wrong ways,
Yeah.
right? Those are the people you. For any future COs out there, just so you know, you will never, ever, ever get your respect back if you do that. Just an FYI, you have announced to everyone that you are a coward and you're avoiding the responsibility that everyone else is running into willing to take that risk. So,
Apparently, yeah.
yeah, so Captain Wrongway telling me I'm fired on this incident. And dude, it was as smooth could be. You know what I mean? He got decontaminated, no physical injuries. I'm not hurt. All good. Homeboy got punked. He tried to punk me. He got punked in front of all the inmates on that tier. All good, right? That's the way it works, man.
So was this RC
Yeah,
reception center? Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I had several
Was I a
incidents like that.
sergeant? What year was that? You remember?
That was '07. That was literally a week
Oh,
after
so
I
I
met you.
wasn't even a sergeant yet.
No,
I
uh-uh.
might have been one of the guys that run up there.
No, it was you. You weren't the sergeant that day. Maybe it was 2 weeks,
Oh,
but
I
it was
meant
within two. It
one
was
of the
within two
guys,
weeks.
one of the 40 that ran
Yeah,
up there because whenever any incident happened in West Block, we left Carson section, went straight there as a
yeah.
group of us.
Well,
Yeah.
you had to. I mean, I
I
get
was I
why.
was
It.
always one of the groups.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was. You get why. I mean, West Block was the Wild West. At
Right.
that time, it was
Hmm.
just tons of inmates, open area, like we said, 5 levels with no railing other than just a waist high railing, and And yeah, and you just had all the reception centers, so they hadn't been classified. So you got all sorts of different people in there. You got hardcore gangsters out of Oakland, out of San Francisco, out of Richmond. You got it all there, and before they get dished out. And there was a lot of violence in there. Yeah, but
Yeah.
I was like, send me. I'm good. I'll always be good. Let's do this. So that was my
Um,
very first use of force incident. Was in the first week or 2 weeks,
wow.
and that's how it went down. Yeah.
I like the way you handled it.
I admit it was smooth because it should have been. You know what I mean? There's no reason to panic. It ain't going to help me if I do. You know what I mean?
I like how you
Um,
backed up and gave him another chance.
I did. I did. You know,
Which says,
I typically I believed in the rule of three. And the rule of three was, depending on the situation, obviously, sometimes all the lights are green, you got to go, you got to do what you need to
right,
do, and you need to do it immediately. You can't wait. But I always believed in the rule of three. I would ask that old ask, tell, make, right? Ask, tell, make,
right.
ATM. I used that all the time because it was always good in a report to be honest about it. Say, I gave this person multiple opportunities to
Yeah,
keep it from going in that direction.
right.
Um, and I really did, but it looked good in reports, but it was the best thing to do at the time too. It was like it filled both things. It's like if I don't have to fight you, I'm not going to fight you. But if I have to fight you, I'm going to try and probably kill you because I'm assuming you're going to try and kill me, right?
Mhm.
Now, obviously, you fluctuate between that. If it doesn't ramp up to that, you adjust. But I always looked at it with that mentality that I'm in a prison and a blade could be pulled on me in a split second, and I have to be prepared to go there. But I will say, of all the use of force incidents, never got sued, never got disciplined. Apparently, I was investigated a couple times.
Yeah, a few times.
But
It
yeah, they were
happens.
all they were all clean because they were. I really worked hard on trying
Good.
to uh and I think what people got confused with at San Quentin is I just was a guy that told inmates no all the time. And that's all you got to do. If you spend your day telling people no, somebody's going to take offense to that. And then you end up in a use of force. It's just what it is.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was my time at San Quentin, and then eventually I went into ISU. And my last year at San Quentin, it was the investigative services unit, and I was so thankful to have that opportunity.
Yeah.
Um, I really enjoyed that. Unfortunately, my mentor from ISU, Corey Perryman,
Mhm.
was
Right.
sent up to Sacramento for the Gang Intelligence Task Force or Gang Intelligence Unit within 2 weeks. So that was really, disappointing as far as losing Corey so fast because that was my goal was to get there and then be mentored by him. But I do supremely appreciate the guys that were and gals that were working in there at that time, even for that short year. We had a lot of fun. I did learn a lot, and it was like checking a box that I'd worked so hard for, and unfortunately, parole came up as an opportunity quickly, and so I jumped on the parole agent bandwagon. But I'll tell you what, Zip, in hindsight, I would have stayed at the prison. In all honesty, I would have stayed at the prison. I had some really good times and amazing partners in parole, but the
Right.
overall experience towards the end was just it was unbelievably bad. Unbelievably bad. Yeah. But I loved working at San Quentin, man. I loved it. In the end, I ended up respecting that so much and the people there and I mean we just laughed, we all the crazy shit that you
Yeah.
go through and you
The
see, which is just
camaraderie.
it was everything. It was everything. And your life depended on me and my life depended on you and it was real. It wasn't a joke, it wasn't
Yeah.
I put it on the idea that if when you leave that line of work or you left a prison, if you've worked there for any length of time, you come out of at least a prison that's not, basically a minimum level security prison, which can still be dangerous. Let's be real, but a prison. Let's just call it what it is, a real prison. You have to come out of that with PTSD. You just have to.
We all did. We
Yeah.
all have a
And
little bit
people
of,
will
I'm
say,
telling
no,
you.
I didn't, but you just have to. I mean, you could be the most low key person that just doesn't get involved with anything. You're still going to see some shit that just you can't explain to the average person.
That's
It
true.
just is. It
It's
just
real,
is.
and I'm glad you brought that up because this is really why I want this forum here. Is
Hmm.
so we have a place to talk and get it out, and a lot of officers, servicemen, and women in the military, they're all dealing with this, and
Yeah.
with their families. And this is a great place that they can air their wares, what's going on with them, and de-stress a little with a partner that or somebody who has the like-minded uh, forthright to deal with these types of things.
Yeah.
So uh, I commend you for making it through all that, and now you're enjoying. Where are you at now? Kentucky, right?
I'm out in Kentucky. Yeah. I'm out in northern Kentucky. And I'm glad to be out of California for various reasons, but I'm going to be honest, I miss California. I mean, you
I
grew
bet
up
you
there.
do.
California's an amazing state. It's unfortunate, at least from my perspective, that it's just been driven into where it is. It's the ugly politics, I think, have just really diminished what the amazing state that it is, because it has everything, and I miss the food, Zip. It's the food.
Oh wow.
I
Oh,
do. I do. I think
well,
about
got
that
some
all the
good
time.
stuff there in Kentucky, huh?
It's kind of bland, man. I mean, you got to understand, Northern Kentucky is more Midwest. It's right on the
Right.
border of Ohio. So, and I've learned, and please, I'm not knocking anyone from the Midwest for anything. Just a more bland palate, you know.
Oh wow.
And we're used, especially being in the Bay Area, it's like you throw a pebble in one direction or another, you're going to hit something, even just a cheap hole in the wall, that's going to have some spice, some flair, some flavor that you haven't tried or you love, and so it's just really just kind of a bland diet or bland palate out here. So I can only eat so many damn hamburgers from different hamburger places, I want sushi. I want quality Indian food. I want, I've fought tooth and nail to find good, authentic Mexican food out here. And I can count two places that, I found that even come
Oh
close to
geez.
qualifying. Two.
So I can't wait to see you in Tennessee. We're gonna do at least one day together,
Oh,
and I
yeah.
think we'll just go to Nashville and find some really cool restaurants there. There's a place called Margaritaville. I don't know if you don't drink no more, right? Neither do I. So, but my wife does.
I've got the lick on Nashville for you already. I've been there a few
Great.
times. Nashville's the new my new Vegas.
Oh,
It's
well,
so
I love
close.
Nashville.
Yeah.
I
So,
love it.
yeah, it's got all sorts of food places, and bring a patch. Bring one of your patches,
What patch?
your
Like,
department patches.
oh, okay.
Yeah, bring one because
I'll
I'm
bring,
bring a couple because at the Redneck Riviera, which is Gretchen Wilson and Big and Rich from Big. I think
oh,
it's Big from Big and Rich. That's
right.
their place, and they're super law enforcement friendly. So everyone
Wow.
puts their patches up. So and you get to
Cool.
put it up yourself. So definitely, we'll go
That's
put your
awesome.
patch up. Yeah,
Yeah, I'm going to do that. Um, so how many years did you have before you retired now?
15.
15 years?
Yep.
Okay. And what are you doing now? Just enjoying your retirement or you got do anything on the side
Enjoying
or
my retirement. I was yeah, just enjoying my retirement for the most part. I'm looking to find some work, to get back into a routine. I've kind of been I traveled a lot. Like I went and had a blast for several years. I've been Europe multiple times, down to Mexico, crazy places in
yeah.
Mexico, and just, I've had a great
You
time traveling
you make a
around.
great actor.
Maybe I got to learn to cry on
Yeah.
command though.
You can do that. I know you can. You
You
can do
just
it.
punch me in the nuts real hard. I can do it. But yeah, traveling, and really just exploring life and just being alive again. But now it's time to get more structured and get back on it. So I'm looking for opportunities for work and probably looking at security management things
Yeah,
of that
there you go.
nature, or there's a ton of distilleries out here. So maybe I'll go be a customer service
You
rep at a
know,
distillery.
I've worked in security the last 2 years after.
Yeah.
and I dread going to work.
Yeah.
So I mean, I don't know how it'd be for you, but for me, it's my passion is acting and the business. So
Yeah.
I can't see myself continuing doing any type of work like that again, as much. I'm doing it a couple days a week, but I have a play that starts in March.
Yeah.
So that's going to run and I'm going to kick the security to the curb.
Yeah.
And because the plays can, I'm going to make pretty good money doing that,
Yeah.
7% of profits. So
Yeah.
hopefully it takes off and becomes a real hit. But um, in the meantime, that's what I want to do. So that's
Yeah.
my passion. What's your real passion in life?
That's a good question, Zip. Coming out of this retirement, I really lost all my motivation and sense of purpose.
Hmm.
That was
I
really,
understand that.
yeah, that was a real hard thing to swallow. Like, who am I? What am
Mhm.
I? And
Right.
the hobbies and the things that I did, I mean, I've always loved martial arts and I love jujitsu. I'm never
Yeah.
going to claim I was some Billy Badass good at it type of dude. I was okay at jujitsu, but man, everyone else was better. But I loved it because I would get smashed, and it taught me discipline and reinforce the discipline and reinforce you can survive anything. You know what I mean? Just keep
Mhm.
embracing the suck over and over and over again, and one day something pops up and you're just like, I got that move now, and I loved it, and I love the camaraderie. I think that's something that I'm seeking again is that camaraderie, that like-mindedness in a kind of a group setting. That is something that I'm definitely missing. If I was to isolate it,
Yeah.
narrow it down and just isolate something, I'm missing that camaraderie that we had. That I think that's for all of us, military, law enforcement, corrections, whatever it is. That brother and sisterhood is unlike anything else.
Right.
And I missed that, and I missed that with jujitsu and the great people out at. If I could just shout a plug out to Andre Doom his school out in
Mhm.
Antioch. Andre, just an amazing human being. His entire family are amazing. All of my
Mhm.
buddies now, that I've started training with out there, just got their black belts and they're so deserving. And I would just have the shittiest day and walk in the door and he
Yeah.
just the whole place would be like, Shay, or
Mhm.
several people would be like, Shay, good to see you. Come over here, let me break you in half. And it's like, I'm welcome. What I mean? It was just
Yeah.
that. I missed that. That's what I miss. I miss that jocular humor. I miss that brotherhood where it's like, if shit sucks, man, nobody's there to knock you down, everyone's there to pick you up.
Well,
So
it was really nice talking to you today, and I think we're gonna have to wrap this up. And it's really good connecting with you today. And so, do you have anything you want to say about?
just want to say thanks for having me on, Zip, and it's always good to see you. And again, it's
Yeah,
good to see a brother smiling. Not too
I
not
can't.
not
I
every one of
yeah.
us gets that chance, to find that after everything, and to see you
Yeah.
smiling and living your dreams, dude. That's worth everything. So much love,
Oh,
brother.
great, Shade. Yeah, I can't wait to see you next month. We're gonna have a good time.
Yeah, brother. I'll see you then.
Really, really nice talking to you.
You too, brother. You take care, man.
Yeah,
Peace out.
peace out. So there you have it. That's the first episode of Behind the Badge, and I'm Jake, and be looking forward to the next one. Like and subscribe if you like this channel, and leave a comment about Shay and his life. So thank you very much, and have a good day.